Welcome back, boxing fans, to another great show with Sean on Boxing. Today, we're going to look deep into a topic that obviously has come up primarily because of Devin Haney's father. Devin Haney's father obviously attacked Grisham, the DAZN commentator, who, of course, was trying to build up and hype up the huge three-fight from New York City, which obviously went around the U.S., did it California and in New York. Presentation of those fights to really hype it up and build it in the States as you would for a fight of this magnitude. Attention is what you're trying to get. So the reality of the situation is you need somebody like Grisham who's going to push buttons, get people talking, and build stuff up. Well, that's what Devin Haney's dad did. He did exactly what Grisham and of course, DAZN and everyone else that's a boxing fan wants. A little controversy, a little attention. As they say, all publicity is good publicity. And that's exactly what we got today, or sorry, a few days ago. But the irony is, of course, the usual suspects, in this case, Dante's Boxing Nation, does what he's done from the inception of his channel. Of course, make everything about race. The reality of the situation is Ryan Garcia is the A side of that card. Whether you like it or not, that's the reality. He's the only guy who's been in a million pay-per-view fight. You don't have to like him, but you have to understand if you want to sell an event like this, Ryan Garcia is the face that's going to do it, not Devin Haney. Devin Haney is not a popular fighter, not even popular within his demographic. It just is what it is. His style is not that exciting of a style. And him really is a guy who's treated like a baby by his father. His father who, goes all over the YouTube, mostly aligning himself to racist YouTube channels. And by doing that, you're going to alienate yourself from the general boxing fan. But we'll get into that in a minute. Just wait a few minutes for this short announcement. Thanks for watching. We're back. So, Jaime, what's up? Laura Blue, I'm here. Mars, what's up? Sean, Maton, welcome. So, welcome everybody for jumping in on today's live. Obviously, being a long YouTube channel, one of the things that always aggravated me was the fact that certain channels on YouTube made everything about race. If you supported Pacquiao, you were a racist. I don't understand how that makes fucking sense. But this is literally what sort of formed my channel. Being a Manny Pacquiao fan, being bombarded and attacked daily and constantly because I was a Pacquiao fan and not a Floyd Mayweather fan, is really what allowed me or sort of motivated me to open my channel to begin with. And of course, a lot of the same usual suspects that back in the day were pointing fingers and accusing everybody of being racist back then are doing the same thing today. So nothing has changed. If anything, more channels have jumped on it because they see that if you want to make money on YouTube as a Black American YouTube channel, what you need to do is continuously push the race card. And by doing that, you're going to have a huge amount of subscribers and get huge views on your channel, primarily by doing that. I mean, it is what it is. Obviously, it's not something I could do because on YouTube, it's shown that if you are a channel that's, as they say, anti-Black, you're not really going to put up huge numbers. You got to be pro-Black to an extent because many of these channels are pro-Black, but at the same time, they're pro-Black to only certain fighters, certain promotional networks, and so they really expose themselves. The LDBC is literally the worst for that. Dante is a little more pro-Black than they are. At least he sort of supports most Black boxers as a whole and generally doesn't attack them unless they're supporting non-Black fighters. But let's move forward on today's pay-per-view. The irony is, where is it? So I saw this video by Dante, Old Media's New American Villain List. And what he's trying to imply here is that the black fighter is always highlighted as the villain by the American media, right? And of course, in this situation, what he's not telling you is that he and everyone else involved is ignoring Ramirez. Ramirez, the unified champion, who is Devin Haney's next opponent, not Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia has a big issue in front of him with Rolly Romero. Obviously, a fight that people are intrigued by and interested in because of the big bullshit back and forth between those two fighters. Obviously, Haney and Ramirez are both going to be a lot more quiet, um, you know, not uninteresting, but less combative. Let's say it that way. Tio and obviously Barboza are also going to be very in their phases. They've already done it. Tio's already slapped Barboza in the face, right? So with these three fights, you see which fight really needs more PR, and that's the Devin Haney fight. The least interesting fight, at least as far as the personalities involved. This doesn't mean Devin Haney's not the best fighter out of all of them, but what it means is he's the least marketable. Obviously, Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero, two marketable fighters because they are the bad guy. Literally everyone on YouTube primarily has made videos shitting on both of those fighters almost from their inception, right? And the reason why that fight's exciting is because people just want to see those motherfuckers get knocked the fuck out. Tell me I'm lying. With Tio and Barboza, it's a similar situation. Tio is such a shit talker, people hope Barboza beats him and embarrasses him, right? The difference with this fight with Haney and Ramirez is that Ramirez is a good guy. Ramirez has never said anything offensive or racist towards anybody. Devin Haney, on the other hand, he may be portrayed as the villain in this fight because, in a truth, compared to Ramirez, he is more the villain, right? Even though on this card, he is the least villain involved. But of course, you can understand Devin Haney's dad capping and dick riding for his son because that's what dads do. But this is part of the reason, and we'll get into that, why Devin Haney is not liked by more people on YouTube, including his own demographic. But let's just listen to this quick opening segment by Dante. I won't play too much.
How often do we see a movie where the cheater, the racist, the serial killer, the pedophile is the good guy in the movie?
First of all, think about that. Right there, he's basically labeling non-black fighters, in this case, Latino fighters, in the same class as pedophiles and murderers. Right? The irony is, though, if we look at all 6 of the fighters on this card and who's been actually charged with a crime, not Ramirez, Devin Haney, yes. Barboza and Tio, I'm not sure if they have. Ryan Garcia has. Obviously, he had that hotel situation where he was charged with vandalism. Rolly Romero, he had rapist situations occurring towards him, which stopped the original Tank Davis fight. But of course, he was proven innocent, right? So just think of the mentality of a guy like Dante to try to label Latin fighters basically in the same line as rapists and murderers, right? Think about the mentality you need to push for that to try to sell your video, right? This is how sick and twisted a guy like him is, a guy that lives in Thailand and doesn't even live in America.
And the victims are the bad guys. The victims are the villains. Now, to answer that question,
and that tells you right there. So Devin Haney is the victim. Isn't it ironic that whenever we talk about blacks in America, they're always the victim? Always the victim, right? I mean, can you imagine going through your life as a victim? Labeling yourself as the victim, right? Because this is what guys like Dante and others do. They consistently are victimizing themselves. They're always the victim. It's always the poor me, the poor us, right? And the irony is People aren't huge supporters of Ryan Garcia. The things he said, people thought he was mental leading up to the Devin Haney fight. People literally were hoping Devin Haney was going to knock him out. The irony is, though, Devin Haney's the one that almost got knocked out. Him and his gold teeth, right? You can't make this shit up. But this is the kind of video you expect from a Dante's Boxing Nation. Hollow Ninja, what's up? The last crescendo could have had amazing numbers, but nah. These clowns want to be out here fanboying and creating narratives and hating each other instead of unifying together as a boxing community. Shake my head. That's a fucking fact, right? The reality is these so-called boxing channels, because you got to sort of say so-called boxing channels, because these guys don't really support boxing. We just had a huge fight card out of Japan on Thursday. Which of these channels talked about that card, talked about it coming up, or even talked about the results? Ken Shiro, a guy who arguably is a pound-for-pound top 10 fighter in boxing, a two-weight world champion, unified in both weights, something Tank Davis has never done, something Devin Haney has never done, something Shakur Stevenson has never done, something Junto Nakatani has never done, something fucking Teofimo Lopez has never done. Well, Ryan Garcia has never been a champion. So, the majority of boxers actually in the world right now, there's very few of them who've actually unified titles in two different weight divisions. Ken Shiro has done that. One of the longest reigning champions, one of the longest title defense records out there. But because he's Japanese, right, and not a threat, these channels don't even feel like they need to talk about him. They talk about Inui and Junto because they feel threatened by them. Whenever they talk about a fighter that's not black, it's because they feel threatened. They feel that this fighter may actually make a name for himself and carve out a position in the pound for pound list, which potentially threatens Black American fighters. And then what they will do is then find ways to shit on those fighters, chop them down, berate them, dismiss them, and downplay them. For Ken Shiro, Ioka, who obviously was before Ken Shiro, these fighters are at a weight division and don't have the popularity where they felt threatened. So they don't even talk about them. They ignore it completely. Nick Ball is fighting this weekend. All these channels would love Nick Ball and Inui to fight. Inui should move to his fifth division. He should go to 126, fight these 126-pound champions. Well, there's Nick Ball, a fighter that potentially Inui could fight. There's even been rumors from Saudi Arabia, Turkey Al-Sheikh, about potentially making that fight. But he's fighting this weekend. If you watch these channels, you would not even know this guy exists. You would not even know he has a fight planned this very weekend. Mara says, agree, but the time schedule was also an issue. Mo's still working at that time. At least the Canelo will be prime time in the States. Yeah, but you can talk about the fight beforehand, and then you can make a video post, right? Like the videos are out there on YouTube. So even if you couldn't watch it live, there was no reason why you couldn't talk about it beforehand and talk about it afterwards. I mean, I don't usually see the UK fight cards because they happen in the middle of the night when I'm sleeping. But I still prep them. I still talk about them. I still talk about Nick Ball's fight with, what's-his-face, the guy that Inui just beat, right? I talked about those fight cards, even if I'm not necessarily going to watch them live. We want reparations, the LDBC, fucking reparations. Man, this is what you get from channels like that. Always fucking the victim.
Only time you might see that is if it's a movie that's based on a true story. But outside of a biopic, you almost never see it. Well, we always see this in the sport of boxing. And
I love that because he's acting as if the only fighters in boxing that use drugs and PEDs are Latino fighters and non-black fighters, right? It's always this situation where, everyone else is a cheat, but not us. Everyone else is fucking loved, but not us. Everyone else is a hype job, but not us, right? Think about the mentality where you're so fucking victimized that this is what you consistently need to say, video after video after video. John Boxing is going to make a video about this video because that's him, the fucking consummate fucking victim, right? Oh my God, poor me. I'm a victim. My people, we're victims constantly. When we talk about this fight card coming from New York, people are super excited about it, right? And the fight that people feel is probably least threatening is probably the Haney versus Ramirez fight, since Ramirez obviously just lost his last fight with um, Barboza. And, you know, some people think obviously Ryan Garcia fight with Rolly maybe is not that much of a matchup, but Ryan fucking has his chin up in the air. Rolly's a hard puncher. That fight for 3 or 4 rounds is going to be super exciting. And don't be surprised if both guys get dropped in that fight. Obviously, the most dangerous fight is Teo versus Barboza, right? People are excited by this card, for the most part, real boxing fans. You don't need to make this into a race issue. It's no surprise Devin Haney's dad did that because this is a guy who rolls with the LDBC. They will literally say and literally do fucking anything to try to get attention to fighters that they support. We've seen this year after year after year. So it's nothing new. These are still the same guys that act as if Devin Haney is the face of American boxing. He's not even the face of this fucking card. And the only thing they can do is create a racial controversy because his son is being fucking overlooked. Not as far as him winning the fight, but just overlooked in the drama and chaos of this card. His fight is the least interesting out of all of them. Tell me I'm lying. JB said the fight he looked forward to most was Shakur versus Schofield. Dante is fake. He lives in overseas. He can't relate. Well, to be fair, he did live in America most of his career, but obviously has made enough money pushing racial fucking narratives on YouTube where now he can fucking move to Thailand and live a comfy, casual life, throwing it to Thai girls because obviously nobody would fuck his fat ass in the US.
And it's no coincidence that the black fighter is always the one that's being called the villain.
Oh, the black fighter is always the villain. But we will look into that and see how much truth and accuracy there is in that statement. Because anyone that really follows combat sports knows that that's fucking pure bullshit. That the black fighter is not always the victim, right? We'll give some examples. Feel free to give comments and examples in the comment section below. When you go back growing up like I did, watching WWE or whatever it's called now with Vince McMahon, the black fighter was not always the fucking villain. You had Iranian villains, Japanese villains, fucking Russian villains. They tried to use whatever, sort of went with popular culture and whatever potentially thing they could build up and push to create some sort of us versus them back and forth, right? You remember all the fucking fighters in the WWF and all the scenarios, right? Even guys that were the white hats at one time were the villains. Hulk Hogan, when he was part of the other wrestling organization, was literally the black hat, came over to the WWE, and then all of a sudden he became the good guy, right? Hulk Hogan, there for the kids, right? We've seen combat sports for literally the last fucking 50 years. I can comment on where no, the black fighter has not always been the fucking victim, or sorry, not always been the villain. Not at all. Even when you look at MMA, which is obviously new, the black fighters have not always been the villains, not fucking even close. For the majority of them, it's been non-black fighters that were the villains. Because you think about trying to sell these narratives in America, which is the primary audience they sell for, who is the fucking villain? I'm the fucking Donald Trump on YTBC. I'm the fucking villain. I'm going to put on a yellow wig and start doing my fucking videos. Just you wait. Because literally, as a white male, we are the villains. It's our fault. Everything is happening. Oh my God. Everything bad that happens in the world, it's all because of me, right? It's my fault. even though I have no power at all, but it's still my fault because of the color of my skin, right? So when a guy like Dante and others tries to fucking play this poor me shit, I just think you dudes are fucking retarded because you don't even watch what's going on in the world around you and how no, the people that are the villains and being villainized are white males. White males can't even go to Asia to get a little pussy because then they're villainized for that. They're going after poor girls that don't know better. They're going after young girls that are uneducated, right? It's the same shit constantly. You cannot fucking do anything as a white male and not be the villain. Um, where are we? Made money professional victim, exactly. Most of Haney's critics are Javante fans anyway, and that's the irony, and we'll talk about that as well. Most of the people hating on Devin Haney are Tank Davis fans, and most of the people hating on Tank Davis are LDBC fucking Devin Haney fans. The exact same scenario we just saw recently regarding obviously Bud Crawford and Errol Spence, right? But somehow even this is my fault. I don't know how two black demographics going at each other, which is normal in America to begin with, somehow that becomes my fault. It's the same in the States. You got the Crips and Bloods. It's not their fault they're killing each other and killing children and doing all these crimes. No. It's the white man's fault. The government put them in this position. It's the government's fault these guys have become fucking animals. It's ridiculous. Facts. Jaime, it's Spence Crawford 2.0, exactly. Sometimes you need color to see the real picture. But, bro, guys like Dante and the LDBC tend to overcolor the image and can't see what the fuck is going on. Well, that's the thing. They're seeing through fucking tainted glasses where they can only see a blurry picture and they can't be real. Can't be real at all. Even when being men like me and you, they also are being turned into the villain by, the woke, who don't care if you're specifically just a white man. If you're a black man, you're also the problem, right? Some of us can see this, seeing that men are the ones who are being villainized, right? And they're a problem with everything in the world. But these guys will literally come out with channels and act like it's only black men that are being attacked because it's always them being victims. They're always victims, as sad as that may be. Mars says, John Jones idolized in the UFC. Aspinall viewed as the villain. Exactly. I was a John Jones fan. I mean, the only negativity that John Jones got that turned him into a villain was all based on things he did as an individual, as we will talk about some of these boxers as well. John Jones, of course, got caught multiple times using PEDs, fucking got caught using cocaine, obviously was inactive and not fighting a lot, said some really fucking over-the-top shit during his time as the king of the MMA. And this is primarily what dropped his stock from being the fucking golden boy to being a little more of the villain. But we saw his last recent fights. He is no villain. And when he fought that short, black, strong guy, I watched those fights. He wasn't the villain. It was the other guy that was the villain. Right? So, we will look at more of that as well. But this shows you everything. Primarily, the black American is not seen as the villain in combat sports. Maton says the LDBC hate on lighter-skinned black people. Well, to be fair, black people hate on lighter-skinned black people. Literally, my staff room right now is very colorful. We have a lot of people from the Caribbean and Africa working with us. And we were talking about something, and it reacted me to talk about a girl I dated in high school that was from a certain part of Africa, Angola. And I said, oh, she was beautiful, light-skinned girl. And of course, people reacted because I talked about her being light-skinned. This is the same in Asia. I mean, if you live in Asia, if you are Japanese, Chinese, Korean, you are light-skinned. They put stuff on themselves to be very white. Literally, they got bleach in all their products so that they are whiter. They are racist towards Filipinos, Thais, Vietnamese, Malaysians, Indonesians who are darker, right? So this whole skin color stuff of racism within groups, demographics is normal within the black group demographic, within the Asian demographic, right? It's no different than white people, not primarily North Americans, but UK fans shitting all over redheads, right? Redheads, man, they get it hard, right? At least from the UK. So this is something that all cultures across the board consistently do. But of course, it's my fault. It has to be my fault because everything is my fault. I'm still working on my Donald Trump what is it? When you try to emulate somebody, I'm going to be like that fucking Chinese guy that's all over the internet now. That's going to be my new shtick. But let's get to this. I'm going to add this to my thing. So there we are, the bad guy. So according to Dante, it's always the Black American guy who is the victim. Impersonation. Thank you very much, Bookworm. You living up to your name. So in this case, I'm using these three examples because these are three of the most popular pound for pound level fighters in boxing. You don't really see too many people talk about Bud Crawford being the villain, right? With the whole Canelo Alvarez fight, he's not really being portrayed as a villain. In the whole Errol Spence fight, he wasn't really portrayed as a villain. You would think he would have been because of people like me, us white people, who always want to have the black man as the villain. How come the media didn't use Bud Crawford as the villain to hype up the fight between him and Spence? And now, of course, with the fight with him and Canelo, who was the villain during the whole Errol Spence Bud Crawford thing was primarily Al Heyman and the PBC, who'd spent years blackballing and blatantly, freezing Bud Crawford out, right? Well, was Anthony Joshua ever seen as the villain, or is it the opposite? Was it Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, Big Baby Miller, all these other people, Andy Ruiz, who were really seen as the villain towards AJ, right? AJ was loved and revered. He was never really seen as the villain. In the fight with him and Klitschko, neither guy was really seen as the villain because it was such a big fight. Both guys had huge fan bases. They never really sort of tried to push that kind of narrative because sometimes you don't need the black hat versus the white hat. The reason we see some of these younger fighters doing that is because they're not getting the attention that they want. In this case, Devin Haney and Errol Spence, Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney are trying to sort of get to Tank Davis's level. Well, as Tank Davis is trying to get to Canelo Alvarez level. These guys are all over social media, day in, day out, leaving all kinds of fucking tweets consistently for boxing fans to see and react to. So the fact that they're being made into villains has more to do with what they're doing themselves and what they're not doing. In Tank Davis's situation, not fighting other great fighters. In Shakur and Devin Haney's situation, not fucking dominating fighters they should be beating easily and exciting. But what's Hollow Ninja have to say? He says, I love all groups of people, but man, bro, we won't heal racism if we keep thinking about race all the time. Let's learn, know, and love one another groups. Well, the reality is, it's like anything. It becomes part of pop culture when you fucking sort of desensitize something, right? We were talking about the B word, bitch, in my staff room, and one of the girls that works with me is from Swaziland, and she said something. I said, biatch, and she said, you can't say that. That's cultural appropriation. And I basically said, well, I can't really say it the other way because it sounds too harsh. To say biatch is, it's more casual. It's been downplayed to a point where you can use it and people don't get offended by it. But if you call a girl a bitch, it just is way more harsh, way more offensive, even if we're friends and Obviously we have a easygoing rapport amongst one another. But, it is what it is. So let's scroll through this and talk about this topic at hand. So here's Dante, the fat bastard, who, of course, is wearing a Muhammad Ali t-shirt. Yes, because I love the way people like John Boxing and others try to act as if somehow Muhammad Ali was one of the most hated people in boxing. Whereas it's ironic because Howard Cosell did just the opposite. Early on in the 60s, he was hated. Why? Because of things he did, things he said, turning his religion, not fighting in Vietnam, being against the government's war in Vietnam. Lots of people were against it, but it was just all these things adding up. Also, the things he said, the really negative, terrible things he said about other fighters, primarily black fighters, right? So even within the black community, you had people that didn't really like him because he was offensive and pushed a lot of racial stereotypes towards other black fighters. Howard Cosell came on board to try to help reinvent Muhammad Ali, help put him out there again so he could start getting fights and build his career back to where it once was. And thanks to his relationship with this Jewish media guy, Howard Cosell, a white guy, Muhammad Ali became loved. But of course, a Dante and a John Boxing, they're not old enough to even know that, and they wouldn't fucking talk about it anyway. How a white man helped build Muhammad Ali in the 70s and turned him into a very beloved figure in the sport of boxing, where now he was a superstar globally and loved globally. But of course, with them, it's just always fucking, I'm a victim, you're a victim. Wouldn't you like to be a victim? To be a victim, be a victim, right? That's their mentality constantly. And this guy is really the crux of it all. If you want to point fingers and blame one person for really creating this on YouTube, it's this fucking guy. Because guys like Ego trained under him. The other dude, even though he's not so popular because he's not black, so people, they sort of support him, but they don't really support him. He's Muslim, but he's not black. So, whatever his name is, that fucking guy, they both trained under him, took the same racial narratives and then built their channels up on it. And obviously Ego has thus went past Dante because he's just, a super clown. But let's move forward. So obviously this is a scenario, right? Dante and these other people are trying to make even Bruce Wayne, right? This very racist, anti-Latino or primarily Mexican type of fans. And yeah, we know tons of Mexican boxing fans, Mexican and Mexican Americans are really racist. Is that my house? Must be next door. Who's knocking on my house? Hello? I don't think it's me. That's what happens when your house is so close. But don't worry, Lily. It's okay. They're not here to see you. You can sit down. So let's get back on track. That sort of distracted me for a second. But obviously, we know tons of Mexican and Mexican Americans are super racist, right? Racism is everywhere, as I just talked about through Asian culture, black culture, white culture, and others. Okay. Not me. JB is knocking. Yeah, John's crashing in. At least fucking call my name so I open the door. You know my name. In Taiwan, obviously, these people don't speak English. So if it was for me, they would say hello. If they don't say hello, then it's not for me. But let's get back to it. We know racism is huge. No one's ever denied it. No one's ever downplayed it. It's huge globally, around the world. But only in America is it something that constantly is fucking rode all the time. and we've talked about it throughout this video, is because a certain group of Americans want to be victimized. They prefer being victims than being fucking leaders. So constantly they need to fucking ride the whole victim fucking train, right? So now you're attacking Ryan Garcia, Tio. Obviously, Tio's not Mexican, but another Latino fighter. Both fucking dumbasses that say ridiculous shit, and they're doing it why? So they can get fucking views and get attention off of fucking social media. No different than many black American fighters who do the same thing. But these guys are being pointed at because we're trying to create an us against them scenario. Oh, it's the Mexicans that are anti fucking black, but it's not the blacks that are anti fucking Mexican. How many years did we hear black boxing fans talk about how Mexicans were one dimensional, flat footed, no defense? Fucking, what is it? What's that game? Where you're just like sitting there punching each other. Literally. And the irony is you had Salvador Sanchez back in the 80s, right? Who totally proved that that was fucking not even close to being true. Roger Mayweather labeled himself as the Mexican assassin, wearing a poncho and a sombrera. Many people did that. Shane Mosley as well. When Rock'em Sock'em Robots. There you go. Thank you, Aaron. Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Yeah. So that's what people identified Mexican boxing as, right? But what they fail to understand is it's not so much the boxers, it's the fans. Boxers knew to be successful to that market, they need to give a certain amount of entertainment and a certain style that fans wanted. And because Mexican boxing fans want a more aggressive, high volume fight, this is primarily what boxers did so they would give fans what they wanted. The irony when you get to the American market, you get fighters that don't want to give the boxing fans what they want and then cry and moan and play the victim when they're not more loved and renowned within the boxing community. I mean, Rigo is the epitome of that. I know he's not an American fighter, but Cubans always came into the game with great skills, but they didn't care about the fans. And because of that, the fans didn't fucking care about them. I remember Barrera was one of the first called boxer punchers. I remember Barrera was a Rock'em Sock'em Robot as well. And when he got beat, that's when he adjusted and changed his style, right? This is part of the maturation of really skilled elite fighters. Some fighters are not skilled in elite, so they can't adapt and grow and change as they, get older. But great fighters do. Barrera, Morales, others, they showed the ability to change. Even Gatti showed the ability to change in his career as well. And I never say that Gatti was great, but, let's move forward. So let's use Floyd, right? Because we know Dante loves Floyd. The only reason Floyd was a victim is because he chose to be the victim. Because his own fan base, the Black American demographic, did not really give a fuck about Floyd Mayweather. They preferred Zab Judah to Floyd Mayweather, right? Floyd Mayweather was not entertaining. He was not somebody they really rallied behind and really supported. You could see that because, we blame Bob Arum, Top Rank, but it's not their fault. You put out fights there, and then you see what the numbers are. If the numbers are not big, then you figure you can't make someone into a pay-per-view star. And that was the problem with Floyd. So what did he do? He took a page out of the WWE and made himself the black hat, started becoming Money Mayweather, and was exactly a caricature from fucking wrestling, right? And then fighting guys like Gatti, and then, of course, De La Hoya, some name recognition, who had big fan bases and had a bit of a following. Then he could use that and utilize that to build himself up. And then afterwards became the guy that people wanted to see get beat. Thank you, Costa Zoo. Most of the Floyd fans were more impressed with his money lifestyle. Well, of course, because they're not really boxing fans, right? They were, what's that channel? The Black Channel. And they have the music awards and other stuff as well. How come I can't think of the name? but he was like part of that, right? And really in that whole time frame as well, right? But let's move forward. So Floyd came out and said this. So was Pacquiao the black hat? Was he the villain? Did the media create Floyd into the villain, or was this something he did well before the Manny Pacquiao fight? And then you make a comment like this: I'm on vacation for about a year. About a year, Mayweather said. As soon as we come off vacation, we're going to cook that little yellow chump. We ain't worried about that. So they ain't got to worry about me fighting that midget. Once I kick that midget's ass, I don't want y'all to jump on my dick. So y'all better get the bandwagon now. Once I stomp that midget, I'll make a motherfucker make me a sushi roll and cook me some rice. He also threw a dog reference in there as well. But of course, Dante's Boxing Nation defended Floyd Mayweather with these kind of comments. Floyd Mayweather also came under scrutiny when he shit on black Africans and said, what has a black African ever done for me? Right? So the reason he was hated and the villain was primarily because of things he did to himself. When he literally fucking got into a pissing contest with a fucking 78-year-old media member, right? This is Floyd. This is why Floyd was the villain. All because of Floyd, not because of the media or because of racist fans. No. We would have never had Floyd Mayweather if it wasn't for Zab Judah getting beat by Costa Zoo. Did Zab get beat by Costa Zoo first? I can't remember the timeline, but is that what happened? Zab Judah got knocked out by Costa Zoo and then he fought Floyd? Oh, Floyd waited. That midget even retired. Well, that's the thing, right? Floyd waited fucking 8 years before he fought fucking Manny Pacquiao and fought him after he lost to Bradley and then got fucking knocked the fuck out by Marquez and then fought him. And then you want to act as if somehow you did something impressive. Well, you didn't do anything as impressive as Marquez. Marquez fucking made a statement. You didn't. You won a fight that was one of the ugliest fucking most watched fights in boxing history and almost ruined the sport in America. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Wow. You got paid a lot, but you didn't give fans what they wanted, which was a fucking entertaining fight, because that's Floyd. That's another reason why he wasn't beloved. Never forget Larry Merchant. If I was 50 years younger, so I can kick your ass. Great HBO days. Exactly. Fucking people try to villainize Larry Merchant for that comment, but that comment was fucking great. Because this was a media member not kissing an athlete's ass. Because unfortunately today, the media primarily kisses fucking fighters' asses like crazy, kisses sports people's asses like crazy, and is afraid to ask them hard questions, right? You see that with the media, with response to fucking politics as well. Give Biden and everybody else fucking, underhand pitches, but then constantly berate and hate on Trump. Trump might have made himself the fucking villain, but the media really went to bat trying to perpetuate that. But let's move forward for more villainhood. So here's Devin Haney, a guy that trying to fall into the black demographic and get more black fans to support him, ended up getting gold teeth, right? Started acting like he was a hood rat, going against the truth, which was exposed by other fighters who said, you're middle class. You're not fucking like that. You're not about that life. Stop capping, right? And the reality is that's what he was doing. People accused Kobe Bryant of doing the same thing. Kobe obviously grew up in Europe, obviously spoke Italian, and was a much more educated and worldly high school player than the majority of players he was up against. And people said he had no street cred, right? So he did things to actually get street cred. For Devin Haney, he's done the same. The way he fought George Kambosos and went for the knockout, that's because he was trying to earn street cred. Even the whole Ryan Garcia fight, the fact that he did get hit so much by that left hand is mostly because he allowed himself to be pulled into that fight instead of fighting the way he should have. to win the fight, win it easily. But he's trying to win over the fans because they don't really support him. Not the way he would like, not the way the LDBC is trying to push the same way they built up Wilder. They're trying to build up Devin Haney. It brings more popularity to the sport. Just look how viral LeBron versus Stephen A. Smith is getting attraction from casuals. Yes, Haney, I'll never let a white boy beat me. Haney, how's he a victim? Exactly. And that's what I was going to say. Same as Bernard Hopkins when he made that statement, ended up getting knocked out by fucking a bunch of white boys. Devin Haney made that statement and fucking got belittled by a fucking Ryan Garcia, a dude that's never been a world champion. So, Ryan Garcia may never fucking become a world champion. And literally that guy fucking knocked you down 3 times, hurt you 5 or 6 times. And you were lucky you didn't lose the fight. Lucky. And obviously, thanks to a drug test, you ended up getting a no contest. But we know all these guys test. The difference between getting caught testing and not getting caught testing is probably more the opposite direction. The majority of these dudes that are getting tested are using, but aren't getting caught. Ryan Garcia, probably because of how reckless he was in the buildup and the things he was doing lifestyle-wise, did get caught. If he wouldn't have got caught, Devin Haney would still be a fucking loser with no chin that got exposed by a white boy. I know Ryan's Latino, but come on, let's be honest. Now his dad going all over there fucking crying and moaning for him. How does this make Devin Haney look? Does he look like a G that his dad needs to fucking, fight for him? That's like when I was a kid. When a kid stole my bike, you want me just to go tell my dad this kid did it and have my dad go to his grandmother's house, fucking drape that kid up, get the cops involved and make a big deal about it? Or do I need to deal with it as an individual? I need to deal with that shit. I can't have my dad fighting my fucking battles my whole fucking life. Sure, at a certain point, dudes would fucking be too afraid to come near me. But the point is, I would also fucking be considered fucking a daddy's boy who's being protected by his dad. How's that gonna fucking work? My street cred is gonna be like, don't fuck with him. His dad will fucking come at you. But I'll be seen as a fucking pussy. This is what's happening with Devin Haney. He is fucking a villain because of things he and his father have done. His father aligning with the LDBC has made him a villain to Tank Davis fans, a villain to fucking white boxing fans or not black fans for making statements like this. Him getting a gift decision against fucking Lomachenko, a robbery that people fucking saw, also didn't win him any fans. These things made him a villain. It's not the media. The media didn't tell his dad to fucking align with the LDBC. They didn't tell fucking Devin Haney to make a stupid statement. They didn't tell Devin Haney to get in a fight with a carny and then fucking throw a punch like a woman, back up and let his boys jump in. The media didn't tell Devin Haney to do fucking any of those things. The media didn't tell Devin Haney to fucking get gold teeth and fucking act like he's a hip hop star. The media didn't tell Devin Haney to fuck a hoe and then have himself embarrassed by her. The media didn't do that. Devin Haney did it. These are choices he made. Let's move through. So here's the perfect example of a black fighter who was not seen as a victim, who was not seen as a villain. I grew up in this era. Sugar Ray Leonard was my favorite fighter growing up because obviously I was too young for Ali. Ali got me into the sport, but Leonard is one that kept me in the sport. Winning the 1976 Olympics in Montreal, me watching that as a kid, being super impressed by this fucking gregarious, charismatic, fucking super fast, skilled fighter. Got into boxing, watched every single fight because I think they were all shown on fucking CBS or NBC or ABC, one of those networks. Was he the villain against Roberto Duran? I know he wasn't. Roberto Duran, the Latino fighter, was the fucking villain. He was the guy everybody was cheering against. He was the mean, terrible monster. And fucking Sugar Ray Leonard was the golden boy before the golden boy. The Magic Johnson smile, the little son in the commercial, so cute with a big smile as well. Leonard, media trained and perfect, right? He was the superstar boxer of that time, something we don't have right now in boxing. There is no Sugar Ray Leonard in 2025. Leonard was an All-American doing commercials all over TV. What boxer in America now is doing commercials all over TV? We know Canelo's done a few commercials, but not to the extent that obviously fucking Leonard was. Duran was the villain. I cried as a kid when Leonard lost to Duran. And I was over the moon when fucking Leonard redeemed himself and beat Duran in the rematch, right? And made Duran no mas. Only later on in my life, when I grew up and became older, did I learn to really respect and admire Duran for what he was as a fighter and understand the whole situation between him and Leonard, right? But at the time, the media wasn't fucking making Leonard a villain. Anything but. Where are we? Salute Newton, who's the racist channel? Is it John Boxing? Dante's Boxing Nation. I know John clout chases you a lot. He's hella sad. That dude's a victim, man. That's it. A victim to my Donald Trump. He is fucking Biden. He's almost fucking as brain dead as Biden, so it's the perfect analogy. Trump, Biden. But let's keep moving through this little presentation. So here's another guy, another Latino fighter, Mayorga. Was Mayorga seen as the villain, or was he seen as the hero? This Latino fighter, was he the hero in American boxing? No, he was the villain, drinking beer, smoking cigarettes, fucking talking like a fucking guy that he was, a poor, uneducated, fucking roughhouse dude that grew up in the toughest neighborhoods of his community and wasn't media trained. Used this real personality, and that's just who he was. Fucking legitimate, 100% fucking genuine, right? A guy that ended up going on and becoming a world champion, being in some huge fights because of his being a character. Being a character in WWE, MMA, and boxing is a fantastic situation. Hector Macho Camacho, another villain. Well, I never really saw Hector Macho Camacho as a villain. But I guess if you're Mexican, he would have been compared to Julio Cesar Chavez. But I didn't like Chavez at all. So for me, Chavez was the villain and Camacho was the hero. Obviously, then later on, he became more of a villain. But even when he fought Leonard, I wouldn't say he was a villain. It was more of an opportunity. But yeah, don't worry. We got Margarito, right? Margarito, was he the hero or was he the villain? He was the villain against Shane Mosley. He was the villain against Cotto. He was the villain against fucking Manny Pacquiao. He was the villain, right? He beat Vernon Forrest pretty good. Yes, he did. Vernon Forrest, the man that dominated fucking Shane Mosley. Margarito, another Latino fighter, was the villain. So with this poor me, I'm a victim mentality, it's kind of ironic that the majority of fucking fighters through history who've really been villainized have primarily been non-black fighters. Sure, there's been some black fighters. That's the way it is. Sure, there has been some white fighters. Sure, there's been some Latino fighters. Inevitably, to make yourself marketable as a fighter, you're going to do what you need to do to get as much money as possible, to get as much opportunities that are available to you. And if that means being a hero now and then changing to be a villain later, That's exactly what you're fucking going to do. If you need to talk a load of shit at a press conference, get an egg and smash it in somebody's face like Chris Eubank, who's the villain? Nigel Benn or fucking Eubank? Eubank, right? But this is a UK fight with two black fighters, right? You know, someone is going to try to play the villain when you're trying to get tons of attention to sell a fight to make both guys fucking money. And they both understand that because they both understand money is the fucking name of the game. Some people have more personality, some people don't. So you try to utilize whatever you can to make a fight more profitable, more marketable, and get as much attention as possible. And yes, there's no fucking way Tank Davis and Lamont Roach did 500 to 700,000 pay-per-view buys knockout boxing. You're fucking delusional. But that's some people. Let's think about this. Who was the villain in this fight? Because we know Mike Tyson was the villain in the majority of his career, right? Mike Tyson was the ultimate villain because of the things he did and the things he said, not the media. The media loved Tyson because Tyson was entertaining, always gave them fucking something to write about, right? So they loved him. They wish this guy would have fought forever because they would have just had more opportunity to make money off of Mike Tyson and his behavior. But think about Tyson. This was the same guy who said he was trying to kill somebody by knocking their bone into their brain. This was the same guy that said all kinds of unbelievable shit to the media. The only time Tyson really became a villain was when he was accused of raping that girl, which was bullshit. He was fucking railroaded in that. Because we all know that he was the villain. Street kid, tough, wouldn't take shit. And that's why he was a great fucking fighter. The baddest man on the planet. But he didn't rape that girl because he didn't need to. Because every fucking girl there knew Tyson just wanted to fuck them. And when you went to his hotel 3 o'clock in the morning, don't act like you didn't know what you were going for, because you fucking did. So in that case, he was villainized by the media, but he was not the villain, really. He was a victim. Tyson was a victim in that situation, just like Kobe Bryant was a victim with that fucking girl at the hotel, right? And sometimes that happens. The villain becomes a victim. In this case, Jake Paul was the villain. Jake Paul was the villain. Jake Paul still is the villain. He's one of the biggest pay-per-view stars in boxing in America, bigger than Tank Davis. In truth, Jake Paul is the face of American boxing, as fucking ridiculous as that is. But that's because he's marketed himself as the villain. Fighting guys, beating guys, having people fucking hate him for doing it. Fighting Tyson, beating Tyson, having people hate him for doing it. He is the ultimate villain. People want to see him fight Canelo Alvarez because they want to see Canelo Alvarez knock his ass out. Not because they really want to see Canelo fight this level of opponent, but they just want to see this guy fucking get beat down. And he knows that, and he will use it, market it, and fucking make you pay for it. But it's always the black man that's the victim. Or sorry, the villain. The victim is probably the better V word to be using in this situation. Right? You think about this guy, Conor McGregor. Was he the hero against Floyd Mayweather? Come on. Any real boxing fan saw him as a fucking villain because no boxing fan wanted to ever imagine this guy beating a fucking world-class boxer. Even if you didn't like Floyd Mayweather, you still wanted Floyd to beat this guy's ass and fucking prove that boxing is way better sport than fucking MMA. And there's no way a fucking MMA fighter is ever going to step in the ring with an elite boxer and fucking hope to do anything. They marketed it. He made racist comments in that fight. They literally fucking tried to utilize him as the villain in that fight to help build it up into a huge mega fight where both Floyd Mayweather, who was once a villain, became the victim. And now, of course, McGregor became the villain. And he's went on to consistently make himself into the villain afterwards as well. So more of this is not about media. It's mostly about what these guys do to themselves to make themselves into villains. I used to be a hardcore McGregor fan in my high school days. McGregor was a fun, exciting fighter, but he was always a fucking villain with the shit he said. Who the fuck's that guy? Great fucking comedic timing, which is why he was super successful and why even now, when everybody knows he's fucking shot, they still hope to see him in big fights. I would like to see him fight Jake Paul. Imagine that. Jake Paul versus Conor McGregor in fucking the squared circle. Two guys you fucking love to hate. Who do you hate more? That's going to determine everything. In this case, fucking Jake Paul would probably be the hero, and McGregor would probably be seen as the villain. Yo, Sean, what's up, bro? Just got in the live. What are we talking about? We're talking about Ego, or sorry, Dante's Boxing Nation, who tried to turn that New York City press conference where Devin Haney's dad fucking came running to his rescue, making his son look like a biatch once again, and making, of course, Grisham and everybody else in the media out to be fucking the villains by always labeling black fighters as the villain. And we're just trying to show that that ain't true. Not at all. Not by a long shot. In fucking combat sports, black fighters have historically not been fucking labeled as villains. It's just not true. Of course, there's examples of it, but not for fucking the majority of fights. Jason, what's up? Hi, Sean. Been a while. You live in there and me live in here. That's the way it is. But yeah, McGregor, the villain. But what do you people think? Like, I mean, try to think of some more examples through MMA or wrestling, because a lot of that escapes me, and even boxing, where non-black combat sports people were the villains. I mean, in wrestling, the promoter became the villain. The white promoter became the villain. In boxing, the fucking promoters always are the villain, but only, of course, when it's Al Heyman who's the villain, where it's a problem because he's black. And of course, the black man can't be a villain. He can only be a victim, right? But when it's De La Hoya, when it's Bob Arum, when it's fucking Hearn, when it's the other fucking UK dude, when it's Turki Al-Sheikh, they can all be villains, but not Al Heyman, because that ain't right to make a black man into a villain. That's racist. Facts, Sean. Dante is a clown. Dude always plays victim, but yet Dante is so racist himself. Terribly racist. I have a question. How come Ryan is called a racist and Devin's not? Didn't Devin say, ain't no white can't beat me? That's the whole point, right? We talked about that in this video. We know Ryan is a dickhead. And because of that, I don't think anyone fucking thinks he's the villain. I haven't seen any YouTube channels make him out to be the villain, or sorry, the hero. Just the opposite, really. And Devin Haney, the fact that he's made himself into the villain because of things he's said and things he's done. He can't be the hero because in truth, he's trying to fucking get street cred so that the black community will accept him, because the black community doesn't accept him. So he tries to be hard, but yet his daddy's running after him, fucking with a diaper bag. How are you going to be hard when your dad running after you with a diaper bag, ready to fucking change your nappy fucking whenever you need it? Like, this is the opposite of hard. That shit's soft. And this is one reason why he's become a victim, not a villain, a victim. Sean, do you remember Jesse James Hughes, boxer, who robs drug dealers? No. Jesse James Leah, I remember, but I don't remember Jesse James Hughes. Canelo is another good example of a villain who most people, although he's my favorite fighter. Yet, what has Canelo Alvarez ever done to become a villain? Right? Within the Mexican community, he was not the hero because they tried to fucking label Julio Chavez Jr. as the hero. He was the Mexican they wanted to carry on the legacy, not Canelo, the redheaded stepchild, right? But yet, one was obviously way better, way more fucking determined, way much better of a worker, and way more focused on his career, and has become one of the best Mexicans in history. Now, some Mexicans obviously have become much bigger fans of him, but you still have a big group of Mexican boxing fans who still don't like him, who still treat him like somehow he's not the hero, but he's the villain. In America, I don't know why he'd be the villain either, because he's not primarily fought black American fighters. He's faced some. He lost to Floyd. He's faced fighters from everywhere. He never really says too much to hate on people outside of Demetrius Andrade. Uh, Yet somehow he's made into the villain. Yet this guy, has learned English, has become fucking soon to be billionaire, the way things are going with him, right? And has totally shown you how to be professional and what you should do to run your career properly. Because no boxer has maneuvered themselves through the sport better than Canelo Alvarez has. Getting paid $100 million a fight for 4 fights in Saudi Arabia, that's $400 million he's going to get. Almost $500 million in 4 fights, as well as investments and anything else that might be tied together with that. That shit's crazy, man. He ain't no fucking villain. He's fucking a hero. Mexican boxing fans should be super excited and proud to have this guy represent Mexican boxing. You remember Luis Resto being caught with cement hand wraps against Billy Collins? I do. And then, of course, Panama Lewis, right? Fucking with Aaron Pryor. Look at Aaron Pryor, right? A guy that was cheating in the corner. But no one really looks at Aaron Pryor as the villain. I loved Aaron Pryor. My biggest disappointment in life is that Aaron Pryor didn't fight Duran and specifically didn't fight fucking Leonard. Man, we all wanted that fight like crazy, right? That would have been the best thing fucking going. But yet we never got those fights. But he's not seen as a villain. True Media Boxing blocked me. Coach kept calling Loma white Jesus. So I said Devin is black Jesus and he blocked me and got my account banned for racism. Really? That's some petty shit. But coming from a guy like him, think about what his channel is made from. His channel really is made from black on black crime, right? He is the antithesis of the LDBC and Ego Boxing Nation. And so him being a black man, he can say what you and I can't say. So that's what he does. And he utilizes that as a way to criticize them. But yet he is, in a sense, no different than they are. And then acting like this, where, what's racist about you calling Devin Haney Black Jesus? Wasn't somebody, didn't the LDBC call him Black Jesus? Didn't somebody, who called him originally Black Jesus? I think it was the LDBC as a response to the bald-headed Texas guy from the LDBC who literally was the first guy to call Lomachenko white Jesus. And because he was part of the LDBC, all the LDBC started calling Devin Haney Black Jesus. Salute. What's up, Evis? Give me that bottle, the one I mixed. Knockout 30 seconds later. Suspect till this day. Exactly. But nobody sees him as a villain. I don't think you should. I fucking loved Aaron Pryor. And actually, at the end of the day, he, like many boxers, became the victims. And unfortunately, that's probably the biggest takeaway from most combat sports participants. At the end of the day, most of them are victims of promoters, victims of the sport that they got themselves into, right? They're mostly victims. So any of them that could utilize being a villain to fucking walk away from this sport as a fucking millionaire and a guy that has taken care of his life and his family, more power to them. Because the majority, 90% of these MMA, UFC, WWE guys end up being victims, right? At the end of the day. So, it is what you say. It is what it is. It's just ironic when a guy like Dante, of course, wants to make this once again into this racial situation where it's always the black man that the media is trying to create into the villain. Yet you give me examples of that, and I will give you examples where you're fucking completely wrong and why you're not being honest. But from Dante's Boxing Nation, who would expect honesty? Got a dad joke for you. Why did the police pull over the duck? I don't know. Why did the police pull over the duck? Carbajal was called a gang banger. Well, Carbajal, right, grew up in that area, East LA, SA. They thought he was a quack. So they thought he was a doctor. So they pulled him over. Dad jokes. My friend Steve, he is the biggest dad joke fucking merchant in Taiwan. That dude's got a fucking dad joke for every topic. Primarily racist. But man, dude's a dad joke fuckaholic. But thanks everyone for jumping in. We had a good boxing conversation. It is what it is. Of course, now me, the YouTube, the YTBC, Donald Trump, of course, I'm going to become the villain for pointing out the erroneous fucking narrative pushed by channels like Dante's Boxing Nation and others who always are playing the victim. I'll take it. It is what it is. I'm going to buy my fucking yellow wig. I'm sure I could get a Donald Trump fucking wig easily on Amazon, and you'll see me. The YTBC's Donald Trump. You are far from racist. You are a realist. That's it. I mean, you cannot travel around the world, live in Asia, be exposed to so many different cultures, and be a racist. The irony is most of these people that would label you a racist have never left the States, haven't met people from different fucking cultures from around the world, don't really know anything about cultures from around the world, are ignorant. And because of their ignorance, which is shown through their lack of boxing knowledge and lack of boxing fucking content, right? These people literally make the same fucking videos day after day, always using race as the predominant fucking thing to push their content. John will say, well, all you do is push race on your videos too. Well, that ain't true. I got tons of videos just talking about boxing that none of the fucking channels you follow fucking ever talk about. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Sean, since you're Trump, when I going to tell JB he's fired? Fuck. You're fired. He fired himself. Grr, Sean, you need to sync up to the US time zone and get a much bigger following. Is that the problem? Well, you tell me. What time of the day do I need to make videos to sync up with the American population? Because you figure I'd be closer to being synced up to the UK fans, but I don't have many UK fans on my channel. I got to start talking like a fucking wanker and start saying I can't do that. I can't. Everybody, hold on. I need to get my water. Where's my water bottle? Lily, where's my water bottle? Or just talk about UK fighters. I talk about UK fighters, but even I'm not interested in talking about all UK fighters because the majority of the guys I talk about aren't that fucking interesting. JB is a fucking dosser. Fucking dosser. big dosser. But, it is what it is. I'm not trying to become a YouTube celebrity and move to Thailand. I already live in Asia. Right, Dante? You fat bastard. But let's go out with one more take from.
No matter the circumstances. And this goes all the way back to the inception of the sport. What remains the same is it's always the black fighter being called the villain, and it's always the white media that gives those boxers that name.
The white media. That's also the irony. How much of the media today is white? ESPN. Is ESPN white media? ESPN is the fucking blackest fucking media on celestial TV. Every fucking commentator is either a woman or black. Or you need to make sure you have a woman or a black individual, perfectly a black woman, to make sure that you're able to actually air your content on fucking ESPN. Sean, I'm telling you, with your perspective of boxing, you would be some fresh air from this anti-white propaganda that is shoved down our throats. Well, Jesus Christ, man. I cannot really understand why my channel isn't bigger when you look at the current framework of the US and the politics of the States, right? Where the woke has taken over. And luckily now, fucking Trump is in power and that shit's just being swept out the fucking door. And you got to love it because literally you see politicians from all around the world now doing the same thing. The opposition party in the UK came out and said, basically, thank God for Donald Trump. That's what we need to do in the UK. And they do. I saw this crazy thing on TikTok, Twitter, one of those fucking things. And basically, what it said is this Muslim kid raped this 14-year-old girl and got off and freed from jail because he did not know rape was a crime. And I cannot even imagine that this is true. I cannot believe that this would be factual because you and I grew up in North America or wherever we grew up, and we knew that ignorance of the law was not a fucking excuse. You could not fucking go to court or talk to a police officer and be ignorant of the law and think somehow that was going to get you off from a crime you just committed. No fucking chance in hell was that ever going to happen. So in the UK, this happening, I can't even imagine it, especially if you do follow the UK and what's going on now. On social media, you cannot even leave a comment any longer in the UK because you may be arrested. The cops may come to your house and arrest you for fucking saying something racist or cyberbullying somebody else. Literally, I just had some message pop up on my YouTube channel saying that, I was cyberbullying somebody. I'm like, who the fuck am I cyberbullying? When people put content on Twitter and it's labeled the way it is, and people say ridiculous shit, and I come out and give my piece to it, how am I cyberbullying when literally everyone in the comment section is responding the same way because this is such a fucking bad take? And, cyberbullying, when I didn't say any racial terms, didn't say anything really ridiculous outside just pointing out the norm. Like, shit's ridiculous. People can say, like, I made a quote on one of these other ones. Some black lady said some outrageous shit. And the truth is, as a black individual, you can say whatever you want. You can say the most racist fucking shit, and it's going to be okay. Because nobody's going to want to address you because they will be seen as the villain, right? It's ridiculous. Crazy shit, man. One more hint that might help you out. When you do a watch party, you should commentate and describe the fights. Makes it more exciting. I do to an extent, but at the same time, how much you want me to say? There's only so much things you can say. Otherwise, it just becomes repetitive. It's like watching basketball in Taiwan when the commentators just say the same thing. Good shot, good shot, good shot. They watch football, they say, good shot, good shot. I mean, if you watch it, it becomes hard to take. That's why I try to mix, you know, talking about the fight in with actually, news and opinion and commenting on the fighters, the situation, and other things that are going on. I also been spreading your channel, but when I tell people, they say it's too late for them. 2:30 a.m. What's 2:30 a.m.? What time is it now in the States? Oh, now it's too late. Yeah, okay. That's true. But I don't always do videos at this time, mostly that Sunday post fights when I do this time frame. Generally, when I come home from work, I do videos and it's the morning, right? So it'd be like 7 to 9 o'clock in the morning. I no longer can do videos at the other time because I'm working. So yeah, that is a problem. It's 1:22 a.m. here. Well, people, you don't need to watch shit live. You can watch it on fucking replay when you wake up in the morning. That's what I do. When I wake up in the morning and there's new videos there for me to watch, I'm super excited because now I have content to fucking wake me up and take care of my day when I'm showering, brushing my teeth, walking the dog, going to work. So I'm happy when I wake up and there's new content. When Ring IQ's videos are there and I can wake up and have something new to listen to in the morning, I'm like, sweet, perfect. But watching your lives makes my day. Well, thank you, Jason. I'm happy that I'm making somebody's day because when John Boxing watches a video, it's going to fucking irritate him because he is a victim, not a villain, a victim. Nobody would ever describe John as a villain. Villains need to be menacing. He's much more of a victim. But thank you, everybody. I'm going to get a late lunch. I have to walk the dog, and I'm going to a party later on, even though because everyone has kids now, the party starts at 6:30. So I got to get my day moving earlier on a Saturday than I'd prefer. Yeah, watching streams live is better because we can chat along. That's true. Laugh out loud. Sean ruins John Boxing's day. John Boxing, laugh out loud. Who the hell watches him? Well, to be fair, when I do my lives, I try not to get too much off of topic and I try not to keep them too long because I understand trying to watch other people's lives, the boxing conversation just disappears and goes into all kinds of arguments and crazy shit. And it's just hard to follow and not nearly as entertaining as you would like it to be. So I try to put visuals and keep it straight to the point and maneuver through and not bogged down. But thanks everyone for jumping on. Thanks, Jason. I will see you guys later, probably this time tomorrow, post fights or maybe live. We'll see. But thanks everyone. See you tomorrow. Peace out.